Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Adam Meakin, Ranty, Paul, Flatzoid and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Any signs of Earth curvature?
That'll be a no from over in Nottingham.
No.
Definitely not in South Africa.
I've been looking at a couple of videos today just to see if we can find any Earth curve. It's not looking good for the globe. It really isn't.
Fair enough. Any signs of axial rotation? Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Definitely no signs of axial rotation.
Hi, Tony.
Hey.
Nope. No sleep.
Any sign of any globers with an ounce of morals?
Oh, don't get me started.
Tell me about it. Adam's been struck by fat girl.
Grumpy because he doesn't like people knowing that George Musa stabs him in the eye with a compass and then shakes his hand as he leaves. So he strikes Adam with a copyright strike. It's not very supporting that fight, the flat Earth.
Not at all. I'm absolutely fuming about that because his entire channel is ripping off other content creators, and the only time that he ever does anything of his own, he copyrights somebody else for responding to a subject that he's quite willing to talk about. In fact, that was the whole point of the subject, was to discuss this argument.
Disgusting, isn't it?
Isn't it? It's absolutely disgusting.
Talking of disgusting, any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
Come on, Travis, where is he?
Not here.
Oh. No.
What about the distance to the sun? Any evidence of that? Any evidence of the distance to the sun? We will get through housekeeping. We will get to other subjects, I promise.
No, there's no evidence to the distance to the sun.
No, it isn't.
Definitely not.
Yeah, not quite that quick. Let's take it seriously. You know, we're lied to about this. I'm going to hold this point just because Ranty's done that. We're told that the sun's, 96 million miles away, based on a presupposition of an R value, based on the sun traversing a presupposed sphere. It's all nonsense, and there's no evidence for it. So this question's pertinent. Has anybody got any distance to the sun evidence, or is this something we can move by?
No, we can move by. There is no evidence for the distance to the sun. We don't even know it's a physical, tangible object, Nathan.
Thank you, Anthony. That's much better. Ranty, I'm looking at
you,
you, son.
If we were to be taking measurements or triangulating, we'd only be, at best, taking measurements to an apparent position anyway. So,
I mean, they come to this 96 million miles by assuming also that Venus is the same as Earth, a spherical body violating the laws of nature in a vacuum. But they ultimately assume R, Earth radius, and then V, or whatever you want to call the VR, Venus radius. So it's based on a whole load of
you've got to try and realise it, haven't you? Because otherwise, all you've got is ratios.
Exactly. Right, let's move on. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Don't be so ridiculous, Nathan.
Oh, I got a story to tell you guys about that.
Go on, go ahead.
Well, should we finish housekeeping? Because I need to go through some comments just so you can see the lunacy of this guy that calls himself Professor Dave.
Fine, we've only got a couple more questions. Any evidence of a presupposed spherical Earth with a molten iron core at the centre of it?
Nope.
That's changed.
No way.
Yeah. You switched that round, threw me for a second. I had to think. But
Yeah,
still not.
just keeping you on your toes.
Any sign of a molten
Presupposed
iron
spherical Earth
core?
with a molten iron core at the centre of it.
No.
No? So
No.
all the school books are wrong when they show us these pictures with this cross-section of this sphere Earth with this bubbling core of molten iron defying Curie temperatures and Curie points? No? No evidence at
No.
all? I hold out
No.
so much
Nathan,
hope.
when they dug the super borehole, they only got to 8 miles deep, and everything that they thought they would find at certain levels, they found completely different. So I don't think they have any idea about what the makeup of the land underneath our feet is.
Perfect. Last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Nope.
None.
No.
Right, move
No,
on.
no.
Perfect. Thank you very much for taking part and taking it seriously, everyone except Ranty.
I'm still fuming with that fight the fat girth.
Well, do you want to go to that first? No, well, I'll take Anthony back off screen if you want to express your outrage for this copyright strike. I've got to agree. You know, when talking about this subject, I've said to people, go and subscribe, go and check out his channel, give him a like, leave a comment. Good for him. He's producing content. As a YouTuber, I offer him every ounce of support. As a flat earther, we're in opposition. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't dare copyright strike him for using bits of me. The amount of people that take chunks of my videos and just play them out, it's like, well, unless it's, you know, actually detrimental or someone's just literally copied it like Ibon Kim did before it was even broadcast, that I'll get pissed about. Now, I didn't copyright strike Ibon Kim, but I threatened to, and rightly so. He broadcast my show before I did. Outrageous. Now, there are certain circumstances where, yeah, the copyright system's there to protect you as a producer, and that's precisely why I would use it. In this instance, it's transformative. It's not falling outside of a fair use situation, you know, and we're just commenting on something that he's done. It's being discussed. So it just seems like, as was discussed in the pre-show, just sour grapes. Pretty sad. Very telling.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the most vulgar of all the globe earthers, and he literally he doesn't hold anything back when he's actually trying to make fun of globers, of flat earthers. Now, when Adam did his little skit, it was very satirical. It was very, you know, it was nothing like the way that this fat girth goes after you, right? So I'm really upset with the morals of these people. That they take our work, they use it, they laugh at it, they try to belittle us, and as soon as somebody does it back to them, they copyright strike, and it's bang out of order.
I mean, let's just be honest. Given that he's just done Sleeping Warrior week, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of footage that I could worm my way through there, and if I really wanted to be an arsehole, I could work my way through it all and copyright strike every single thing he's done, if I really wanted to. Bye-bye channel.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that Professor Dave? Anthony?
Yes.
Is that Professor Dave?
That is Professor Dave.
I'll take that as a
Can we
cue.
move on?
On. Yeah, right, perfect. Is it all out of our system? I just want to add one more thing if it's not. So just get anything else out, and then I've got one more thing to round it out with, and then we'll move on to Professor Dave.
I'll just thank you for the information you've given me, Nathan, on it, and I do think it is something that needs challenging. So I shall. It is lawyers this goes to, isn't it? So I may as well hand this on to my lawyers. They'll do it for us, won't
Not
they?
yet.
No, it's taken
not
out
at that
initially.
stage yet.
Yeah,
No,
but
not yet.
I ain't got time to do with it, so they may as well just process it for me, aren't they, straight from the beginning?
You're not at that stage yet, but in any event, that's for another time. We can happily discuss it more off air. But you know, you're not at lawyer stage yet. You know, that's just bravado. If other people throw that out there, and it's nonsense half the time.
It was laziness, Nathan, so that I don't have to write the first letter. It's not bravado; it's just sheer laziness of
step one
someone
is
else do it.
Yeah, step one is to go through the YouTube process and actually contest it, give your reasons.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. In any event, the thing I want to stress at this point is I am not in any way advocating what's going on. I know there's outrage expressed to it, but I don't want anybody on our side to think suddenly it's perfectly acceptable in that case to go to Fight the Flat Earth and start copyright striking him, as Anthony suggested he could do. Don't do that. You know, just don't be a prick. We're all here on YouTube, subservient to their rules, and why bother going into their rules to try and piss other YouTubers off because you've got a bit of sour grapes? You know, man up. Don't try and destroy other people's YouTube channels. It's just outrageous. Regardless of your views or feelings on the shape of the earth, you know, you should still behave like decent human beings. And I, in my personal view, would rather behave in the opposite. That is, encourage people to use other YouTubers' channels, regardless of their views. I want to encourage other YouTubers. Obviously, there's exceptions. I'm not going to promote things that are downright disgusting.
I don't want to take him down, Nathan. He's produced one of the best flat Earth proofs of this year.
Exactly. Precisely. So I'm more than happy to promote that. Go and watch it. Go and watch George Musa tell you all about how gravity isn't real. Wonderful. You know, as for copyright striking them, it's like the antithesis of what I desire. So yeah, I'm as equally outraged. But I just don't want to spurn other people to go out and do the same to him. You know, don't. It's not an eye for an eye. You know,
can I clarify? That's not the advice you gave me. I asked you whether or not my case had merit for an appeal under the fair use rules. That was the advice you gave me, that it seemed my use of it was within that limit, so it's worth appealing, not go out and be petty and childish like he's been. It's
educational, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's evidence that doesn't support his position. I don't know how it can be protected when it's educational use. I'm pretty sure that fair use covers the use of educational material, so I'd argue it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
At the end of the day, you could use it as a catalyst to get someone into a courtroom, so we can get this topic talked about in a courtroom. That'd be fantastic.
Correct. That is a stage that could come next, but at this stage, no.
Yeah, I know.
The more important thing is it just exposes the fat girth for what he is.
Yeah. He's bitter. He's got sour grapes because George Musa stabbed him in the eye with a compass and then shook his hand, and he thinks he won.
He said, I want to use Nathan's, and you know when you were trying to have a go back in, and he says, look, he's just took a beating off you in the ring, and now he's shouting for a rematch. Well, it's kind of like, I'm in the crowd, I was filming it, and he just punched me on his way to the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, good analogy. You're in the crowd, and as he's escorted off bleeding, you go, ha, loser, and he punches you in the face. Hey, Colin Turner, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
So is Tony doing his little bit now, and then I can do a couple of videos in a minute?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've been trying to round that out so we can get to Anthony. He's been keeping calm and patient. Hey, Chocolate.
Morning, everybody.
Okay, you're on. Anthony.
What? Oh, right, I'm on.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
hey, Tony, before you do go, just want to check one thing. Are you on TFR tomorrow? Because
yes,
Nathan said I could. So I just wanted to double check. So yeah, so 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
No worries.
TFR.
Yeah. No worries.
Do a proper plug. That was, you were talking over each other. One or other of you do a proper plug with the time, the place. I'll do it then.
Go on, Adam, plug it.
Okay. Well, you'll know more what they're talking about. We had a little heads up last night, but tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock UK time or 4 a.m. Central American, Tony's going to be on the Ironworks on Truth Frequency Radio with Josh and Walt, and probably you can fill in then, Tony, what exactly you're going to be discussing.
The devastating effects of the George Musa interview with Fight the Flat Earth, because this is what I'm going to talk about right now, is direct application with somebody that calls himself Professor Dave. Now, for me, this guy's not a professor. He claims to be, but he can't be, because what I'm going to go through right now is the effects that we can utilize as Flat Earth against these dumb people that claim to be ballers or claim to be professors or high school teachers or whatever. We can rip them apart with this, and I'm going to demonstrate how stupid this guy is, and he claims to be a professor. So I went over to this video. The Earth still isn't flat, and I messaged him, and I just, my phone got a typo in this, so it didn't make sense initially. So I've had to edit it, so it did. I said, "How is the atmos not bursting into space if gravity is not a force?" And he said, "I've got no idea what you're asking." Now, to be fair, it was because I didn't punctuate properly, because I was doing it on my phone and I was bleary-eyed. It was when I woke up 6 hours ago. Anyway, I said, "Sorry, there was a misplaced smartphone caused drama there. I'll re-ask." George Musa, PhD, claims that gravity is not a force. and that Newton's work should not be taken literally. He claims that Einstein's general relativity is our current understanding for gravity, and that it's the curvature of space-time that is the current thinking. Published in 1915 by 1920, it was generally accepted by mainstream science, we are told. Do you agree with Dr. George Musa? He writes for Scientific American. Ignore the other guys. I'm just going to go through this guy. So this is my first ever communication with him, and he comes back with me with sleepy pants. Now, I wasn't rude. I wasn't horrible with him. I've never spoke to him before, but he's calling me sleepy pants. And I was really surprised that a professor would do that. I think that's terrible. And that makes me immediately think that this guy's not a professor because he doesn't know me. He's never spoke to me before. Anyway.
I asked him 30 odd times when he was in the Globebusters chat what his field was. And it was noticeable from other people's comments and his lack of comment. Whether he is a real professor, he's yet to answer one that politely.
Can't be, because look at the way George Musa presented with Fight the Flat Earth. As big a Burke as he may be, Musa was, what's the word? He was endearing. He was polite, affable. He was a nice guy.
No, the word you're looking for.
Sleepy pants.
The word you're looking for is professional.
Yes, that's the word, professional. So he calls me sleepy pants. Anyway, he says, beware of sensationalist blog posts. Right? Scientific American is not a blog post. They are clickbait, and people like me with no scientific education run a real risk of misinterpreting them and reaching ridiculous conclusions like that gravity doesn't exist. So he obviously understands the point I'm getting to, but he's also trying to shoot me straight away. So I said, do you agree with Newton's first and second laws of motion? Not the one that says that an object at rest, the other one. It says that an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by a force. Do you agree with that? It's literally a yes-no answer. And then he said, both of those statements are referring to the first law of motion, and yes, it's valid. Great. Einstein said that gravity was not a force, and writing for a well-respected publishing house called Scientific American, who also claimed that Einstein wrote for them too, you know, George Musa, PhD, also echoed Einstein's words that gravity was not a force. Could you provide me with the science for the cause of the loss of velocity of the gas pressure if gravity is not a force? So I'm asking him, what is the force that's stopping the velocity created by the gas pressure from just immediately bursting into space? That's what I'm asking him. What is the force necessary to slow the gas pressure down, please? His response. So time went by and he didn't answer me. So I said, no science for the necessary decelerating force? And then that prompted him immediately to say, Sleepy, loss of velocity of gas pressure is a meaningless phrase. I have no idea what you're talking about. Zero physicists believe that gravity is not a force. Stop reading blogs and learn real science. Well, we know that Einstein said that gravity wasn't a force because he snapped the wand in two, right? That's what Musa said. So there's two, and I've already cited them. So I'm already at two. Obviously, I feel as though this guy's not listening. So I need a third. So I just said politely, thank you. And then I got a link. What I'll do is I'll show from 2 minutes 30 in this new video link from, oh, mind you, it's BBC. I don't think I can play this without Nathan getting in trouble. But what I'll do is I'll just show it so that you can see how new it is. It's BBC News, so therefore it must be true. Published on the 29th of May, right? Now at 2 minutes 30, if I open the transcript, I'll just play the transcript so that you can see what was said, because I don't want to get Nathan into trouble. Nah, there's no transcript. It basically says that gravity is no longer thought of as a force. So I said, in response, he says, wow, a pop-sci video explaining general relativity to lay people. Yeah, so what? So this is the third citation I've given him, and he's dismissing that as well. So I've got Einstein, Musa, and now this pop-sci video, and I'm getting a, yeah, so what? So I said, well, a pop-sci video doesn't agree with you. It literally said gravity is no longer thought of as a force, rather the effect of the curvature of space-time. I should have put them in speech marks as I was quoting it. I can provide more complex citation, but you said no physicist thinks of gravity as a force, but I gave you Einstein, Musa, PhD, and something a little bit more basic. 3, and you still think there are none. That's okay, I've got my answer. There is no force slowing the velocity of the gas particles from leaving Earth. Thank you. Now look at his response. Honey child, didn't I warn you about what you were doing? The semantics, right? Words have got meanings, right? Semantics is not a dirty word. The semantics surrounding how we address gravity does not mean that there is no acceleration due to gravity. Whether we manage to explain gravity, explain being the keyword, explain gravity with a quantum field theory or not, you can't get around acceleration due to gravity, whether through the lens of classical mechanics or the curvature of space-time. You're taking an oversimplified explanation of gravity and trying to use it to imply that gravity does not exist. It's quite ridiculous. Now, Honeychild, that's all I need to say there. So I think this is my final comment. I said, but you still don't have any science. When I say science, I do not mean a bit of maths or a bit of theory or an explanation. The fact is, gas pressure requires containment to exist. It also gives us the density gradient that we experience in our atmos. An open system cannot exist next to a vacuum without some force. You do not have one. You can only fantasize about eloquent theories and equations and fail to qualify your words with any science. That's okay. I just wanted to see how you dealt with credible opposing views to your own. Good job. And then I don't think I got another response from him. But the point that I'm making is, this guy claims to be a professor, and he doesn't accept that any physicist thinks that that gravity is not a force. Well, we know that that's not true. We've got Musa, we've got Einstein, and we've got everybody else that supports these citations, of which they will be coming out, and you can check them yourself. But he's telling people as a professor that nobody thinks of gravity as a force. Yeah, it's clear that it was by 1920, it's antiquated science, and he should not be citing it because gravity is not a force. And this guy is either deliberately deceiving people, or he just doesn't know because he's not a professor after all. It's one or the other. We all know gravity is not a force, so let's stop calling it a force. Let's call it the effect of the bending of space-time, and let's apply that, and let's see how that can explain how the atmosphere sticks to a ball, because we all know that's not going to happen, and we want ballers to acknowledge it, particularly conspiracy cats, because it's pinned against him. It's down to you, conspiracy cats. It's down to you, ballers. Let's start taking the meanings of words and applying them properly, and when it says things like Einstein superseded Newton, let's accept that to mean what it says. He replaced. He didn't add to, he didn't support, he replaced it. You got 3D against 4D. So the flat earthers need to hammer this point. Gravity is no longer a force by 1920 because it's out of date. I'm done. Next.
No, don't take it off screen yet. Go down to your last comment, please. Very good. Yeah. I agree with you. 99%.
Real quick, I got to make sure. I haven't been looking at the screen. Did he really call you Honeychild?
Let's not worry about that. Okay, Chocolate, thank you. Yeah, let's not worry about that for now.
Like, wow.
Right, sorry, guys. So, where is it? An open system cannot exist next to a vacuum without some force. No, the necessary antecedent for an open system to exist is a nonsense. The necessary antecedent for gas pressure is a container, not a force. So, I hate to pull you on this, but you equivocate these two things frequently, Anthony. It's the third time you've done it. This will be the third time I've pulled you on it, and John. So when you say that, well, they haven't got a force anymore to hold the gas pressure, they never had in the first instance. That's not the necessary antecedent for gas pressure. A force doesn't come into the equation. It needs the walls of a container to press upon. Nothing to do with any forces. So even when they had the force and claimed the force, it still didn't undo that argument. Now, I know you see a shortcut to undoing that argument by saying, haha, you haven't got a force that you did claim, but it never undid the argument in the first place. So I just want to make
I agree, but we have to talk, we have to dumb down the language so that people like the Rumpus understand that they haven't got a force. Now, I understand what you're saying and I agree, but when you go into the like other hangouts with ballers that don't necessarily watch the show, you have to dance their tune to some degree. And what I'm doing is allowing them to dance and beg the question. And I know you don't like it, but that's their language. They want to beg the question. So let's stab them in the face with a compass and let's watch them haggle out there with blood oozing out the face. Because people like the Rumpus are still in chat telling people that gravity is an apparent force. It's not a force, is it though, dickhead?
Yeah, but in this specific argument, you're misconstruing the gas pressure with supposedly a force being even a part in it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Correct, Darwin. That's my point. And Anthony's saying no, but I've got to beg the question because they think a force can hold the gas pressure. It's like, well, no,
that's completely wrong.
Exactly, that's just wrong. So why not just correct that rather than entertaining it just because that's apparently some rules you've got to abide by? I'm not having a go at you, Anthony, because, like I say, 99% of what you said is just, I don't know this Professor Davies. I've never come across him. What I did see was several 100,000 views on that video. I mean, Jesus. Who is this guy exactly? Shout out to Matthew Lamone. Sorry, I can't see it with the glare. Hope I haven't screwed your name up. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Who the hell is this guy?
It's only had 45,000 views, but this guy claims he had long, weird, like thrasher music style, gothic style haircut until Bob from Globebusters laughed at him for it. Because you can't present yourself as a scruff and claim to be a professor, but that is what he's doing.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with that at all. You can present yourself however you like. If you're accredited, you're accredited.
I don't think he is, though. I mean, why would he call me sleepy or whatever it was that he called me? It's like the first correspondence I've ever had with him.
John calls
That's
people...
just to slightly patronize you and reaffirm the teacher authority position. It's a basic social strategy.
The argument's all that matters. John calls people crayon munchers when they display themselves to be crayon munchers. You know, the fact that he hasn't got an example of you being a sleepy pants is kind of neither here nor there. How they present themselves is an appeal to format. You know, who cares? His arguments are bunk. He hasn't got any arguments to present. You've presented citations and evidence, and he's given you the hand wave dismissal, right? That's all that matters.
Yeah. So just look at Rumpus's message in chat there, Nathan. He says, Rune Thorsten, yes, there is experimental evidence for gravity being the bending of space-time, the orbit of Mercury. How on earth does the orbit of Mercury satisfy experimental science, Rumpus? Obviously, it can't.
Sorry,
you can't do anything with it.
Sorry, what's an orbit?
Exactly.
What is an orbit? What's this thing, orbit? Does it rely on any presuppositions, perchance?
Yeah, there's no experimental evidence for gravity. You can't have the orbit of Mercury as an experiment because you can't do anything with it.
What is an orbit?
An elliptical or a circular path around another planet.
Oh, so we're assuming that that's orbiting us, are we?
Or the sun.
Oh, right. Why would we assume that? Exactly?
Because we've seen a light in the sky and we think that it's a gas giant.
So just because it's part of their religious belief, we should assume that, should we?
I guess so.
Right. I'm not down with that. No thanks. Keep your orbits. Prove them.
There is no experimental science on anything to do with the solar system. Sorry.
Hey, Anthony.
Come on, but what about the perpetual falling motion due to gravity?
No, that's the presupposition. Go on, Ted.
Oh,
Yeah, Anthony,
it
I
is?
think he
shit, are
called
we?
you those. I think he called you those names because he's aware of you, maybe from other shows. So he took the liberty to call you those names. But it was your first time talking to him, and it's interesting that they have to go to Venus to try to prove gravity or the convection currents of Mars or whatever, but they can't do it here on this.
Yeah.
Where we live. They can't do it where we live. They got to go somewhere out in so-called space to prove it, but then they're begging the question. We're in space.
Just embarrassing that people like the Rumpus still think, oh, that's the other thing. I was in Channel Q last night, and basically, what's his name? Lewis Hackett was in there, and we were talking about stuff, and he started to make assertions that he had no evidence for. And I said, can you support that with some evidence? And he says, no. And I was like, right, so we can dismiss it without evidence then, right? And he was like, no. He said, that's my assertion. He said, you've got to try and disprove it. And I said, what are you talking about, Lewis? We're back to the Stone Ages. I said, if you make an assertion, you've got to support it with some evidence that you believe to be making your point, supporting your point at least. And he was like, no, I don't. And I was like, right, okay, so I'm going to leave, but I'll just show you this on my way out. So I showed him the evidence that literally showed that he was wrong, and I left. But I just find it unbelievable that people like Lewis that have been in this game long enough, when they're on their home turf and they're not on a platform like ours, they throw their weight around as though they can do what they want. And they literally misrepresent words. They can misrepresent meanings. They don't like that when it says Einstein superseded Newtonian principles. The word superseded, they absolutely hate that. They abhor it like nature abhors a vacuum, because it just shits on their argument. So they have to say things like, well, no, it added to. It's like, no, that's not what supersede means. Yeah, it does. It means it added to. So shout out to Sean G, who thinks that adding to is the same as superseding. No, superseding means replaced. Doesn't mean add to. Stop raping the meaning of words. Words have got meaning. Doesn't mean what you're saying it means. Stop changing them. Einstein replaced Newton. Gravity is not a force. Let's attack them with it, because they're just ignoring us. It's stupid.
Shout out
Supersede.
retracted.
The definition of the word supersede is to take the place or move into the position of?
Supplant.
Yeah,
About as
replace.
close to replace as you get. Yeah.
It only means that if they like it, if that works for
Yes,
their
that's what's
argument.
happening. And what also
Oust.
happens is
Overthrow. Remove.
if there's if there's two or three of them on the panel, right, and I say that doesn't mean, that's not what supersede means, even though they know that it doesn't mean that. If the three of them say, yeah, it means added to, that means they win by consensus. And I'm like, this is just ridiculous. There's no point having a conversation if you can't agree on the most simple definitions, like supersede, what it means. If we can't agree that, then we're pissing in the wind. So I don't know whether I can actually go and have any debates with these ballers at the minute, because they don't like that word supersede.
No,
They
what they
can't even
don't
get
like,
straight the consequences of their own model. So
what they
Not
don't like,
surprised.
Anthony, is the fact that you've taken them to task on something that they thought they had, which was the lie. And now you're unveiling layer by layer, like an onion, their words, their stances, the gravity situation, and it's embarrassing them. You're actually doing more damage to unveil this lie by going right at the first layer of their defense, which is these so-called professors and these academia types. The next layer is going to be a little bit more official. They're hoping this layer stops us, but now you're just uncovering it, and because they can't give good answers. So we're just moving up the chain until we get to it.
And just look at Sean G in chat right now. He's saying, lol, not just replace, Riley. Yeah, it does mean replace. Supersede does not mean add to, support, furnish. It means replace. So you don't add to, support, or furnish your car when you swap it for a different one. Your new car supersedes your old car. You don't keep your old car and polish it up with the new car, do you? You replace it. That's what happened with Einstein over Newton. So let's be really clear, boys and girls. Supersede, it does not mean add to. Supersede means replace.
It's just dishonest, man. Because I watched that hangout where you read the definition out to them, and they were just like, nah, that's not what it means. Even though you just read it to them, they just deny it.
They're just
ridiculous, bro. Sean, I mean, come on, bro. Be honest. I've heard you plenty of times saying, "Oh, I'm honest," but nah. I heard that. That was nonsense, bro. No respect for that.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's total. It's one thing to make a mistake, right? And if we make a mistake, fair enough. You know, I've made my mistakes in the past. But to literally ignore the meanings of words is worse than making any mistake, because you are deliberately choosing to dismiss the word that you know it means and substitute it with one that you know it does not mean. And that's why Conspiracy Cats has got problems, because he knows that he needs a force for his little atmosphere to stick on his ball, and everybody knows that gravity is not a force. That pisses in the problem for Conspiracy Cats, because he's got nothing, but he still teaches children, and I think that's a bit of a problem.
Sorry, can I just read something else? So I've just gone to etymology.com. Supersede, mid-15th century Scottish. Postpone, defer, from Middle French superseder. Desist, delay, defer, from Latin supersedere, I think it says. Literally, sit on top of. Also, stay clear of, abstain from, forbear, refrain from super, meaning above, see super, and seed, to sit, from pi, seed, meaning displace, comma, replace. First recorded 1640s.
Yeah, replace. So someone in chat's put the iPhones.
Tony, your legal words for me are where supersede. If you have legislation and you get new legislation that supersedes it, it replaces it. It means the other stuff no longer is relevant. It's gone. It's removed. And the new, if you're going to add to something, then it's an addition to existing legislation. You don't supersede it. So to me, it's quite clear.
But what we need to do is, on our side, we need to realize that they don't like that word supersede, and they don't like the word not being a force. That phrase, gravity is not a force. Because if it's not a force, they can't have the gas pressure point. So let's attack them on it, because they've got no science for it other than stories. So, and when they say things like, oh, well, it's the best current position by science, therefore it's a scientific theory, or anything to do with that nonsense, if it's not scientific method by demonstrating a cause and effect relationship, it's bullshit. That's literally the position.
I had a super chat and I can't quite find the window to see who it was. Thanks for the super chat.
It was Julio Pabon. I still don't know what this gravity thing is.
Thanks, Julio. Really appreciate your support.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Try finding a concise, consistent definition for gravity. Really difficult. It's not straightforward. Depends on where you look. It depends on who's written it and how they've how it's been prosed by that person, depending on their position. I want to know why Rumpus isn't in here. He's in chat and he knows that I want to speak to him about how weight is not a force. Rumpus knows, and he's been teaching everybody, preaching to everybody that weight is a force, mass is not a force. But we know that gravity is not a force. But weight has got little g in it. So we know that if gravity's not a force, but weight's got little g in it, there's a conflict. And I'd like to know how that conflict should be corrected by science, because you can't have confliction, right? It's got to support each other. And there's clearly a conflict there, Rumpus. So I'm wondering, why is it you're in chat and you're not on the panel? Because I'd like to hear what you're going to do about it. Are you going to retract your previous work where you've been telling everyone that weight's a force, because we know it's not? Or are you going to basically reassert your nonsense like a priest and push it anyway? So why don't you join the panel, Rumpus, and tell us how stupid I am and how I've misunderstood it?
So we've got a few others that have joined us, then we'll move on to Ranty, who's presented as we speak. So hello to Mind Warped, Jessica, Right the Hand, and Quantum Eraser, who've also joined us.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, I like that. Hey, hold on, Chocolate. Don't step all over me.
John.
What's up? Anthony, if you say that gravity has something to do with air pressure one more time, I'm just going to take a contract out on you.
I know. I'm sorry, John, but when you get down and dirty in the depths of their arguments, we have to play.
No.
This is what they make us do.
No, we don't, because it has nothing to do with it from the beginning.
I warned you, Anthony. I did warn you. I warned you, didn't I? I mean,
I know, but listen, we have a problem because I understand what you're saying, but they don't argue it. They just refuse to accept it.
What they argue? Stick with the facts.
Listen, we've already had the point made by Nathan, and I agree, but they won't accept it. So what am I supposed to do?
I don't care what they accept.
Who cares? You're appealing to them. You should be appealing to other people.
Let me say this again, so everyone can understand this. Even if we gave them gravity, we gave them Newton, we gave them Einstein, and both were at full force and non-force, both at full curvature of space-time and full force, maximum force. Wonder Twin rings activate. It would have no effect on entropy whatsoever. Is
that clear? Does it need repeating?
I'd like to hear it again, actually.
I'll say it. Well, even if... Right, so there's two claims. A force. Yeah. Reverend John Mitchell / Cavendish gravity. Incorrectly attributed to Newton. So we've got a force, and John's stating that if you had that claimed force at 100% full effect, and in combination with the most bending you can get out of the conceptual medium of space-time, you have that at full effect also, it would make absolutely zero difference to the effect of entropy. The gas would still fill the space. And now this has been demonstrated. Dr. John Dee did a demonstration of exactly that.
The entropy supersedes everything.
You're not getting around that law of nature with any force of non-gravity or force of claimed gravity. You're not getting around it. It makes no difference to the argument. That's the point. When they said, oh, we've got a force holding the gas pressure, that wasn't an undoing of the argument. It was easy for us to say, incorrect. That is not applicable when you're talking about entropy. The gas would still fill the space. Right, on that somber note, I'm going to do a quick shout to everybody watching. So if you're in the live stream currently, in the after show, which will go out later this evening on Nathan Oakley channel, underneath there'll be a few links, and those links are to channels that I currently watch. So it ended up just being probably in the last 12 hours of my history. But I went through, put a few links. So underneath this live show and underneath the re-up on Nathan Oakley will be the links to those particular videos. And they're just essentially the channels that I'm currently watching, the ones that I'm interested in. So from the top of my head, I think Jeranism, Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes, Ranty Flat Earth, Chris Berry. There was a guy that Ranty had literally got me to look at there, and then something Bell, Joseph Bell. Is that right?
Josh Bell, yeah.
Chris, was it Joseph Bell?
Josh, I think.
Joshua Bell, that was it. And Phuket Word also. So just people that I'm generally watching at the moment that you may or may not be aware of. Some mixed bags. Certainly at least one of them you have never heard of, because there's only 5 subscribers there, and me and Ranty were 2 of them. So yeah, check him out at the very least, and all the others, subscribe to all of them immediately if you haven't done so already. But at the very least, check them out. The links are in the info box below this video.
Well, I just want to present a couple of videos. It's one was from that Josh fella, and there's another one here called Exploring the Plane.
Okay,
and
you're on.
Absolutely sensational. It's obviously filmed in with a filter or in infrared. This is from the top of. It's in Wales. It's. I'll show you where exactly it is. Let me just bring it up on Google Earth. Here we go. So it's right next to the captain's table, Llandudno, on the top of Great Orme. So here's where he's filming from. Exactly here. You can go and watch the video from the start. I can show you exactly where he was. And he's filming through these wind turbines, and he's looking all the way over here towards Blackpool. The problem for the globe is that this seafront shouldn't be seen. And in fact, probably around about half of the tower should be missing as well. So all these buildings that are nicely low down here, including things like here, this wheel, this Ferris wheel that's here, none of this should be seen. None of these buildings should be seen. And I'm just going to play his video because it's really great. It's a bit of infrared that we've not seen on this channel very much before. But here we obviously have Blackpool Tower in the distance here. Here we have this entire seafront all lit up. It's a big problem for the globe because this doesn't match their curve calcs.
Looks like CGI.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
It's very cool, isn't it?
It is very cool.
It's very cool. There's the big wheel. There's the Ferris wheel. It actually goes past it. In fact, it actually does some calculations about what he's actually seeing. Obviously, over here we've got the big one. You can actually still see that there. It's very clear. There's obviously the tower. The red line is where the curve of the Earth should be, and everything beneath that you're actually seeing, you should see. It's as simple as that. So it's a very cool video. I would highly recommend everyone going over and subscribing. I'll show you his channel name now. It's called Exploring the Plane. I'm subscribed. I think yesterday when I showed this on Jeranism, he had less than 100 subscribers, I think. So it's nice to see that he's got 300 now. But this is his latest video.
Click share, put it in the Hangout link, and I'll stick that underneath because that's a different one to the one that you gave me before.
Share on. I don't know where do I share it to.
In the Hangout. If you go back into the Hangout.
All right, okay. I'll do that in a second. Right. The other video I want to show is this one. Now, this is Josh Bell. He only has 5 subscribers, and he's been putting some recent videos out. It appears that he has a P1000, and he does some really great shots. He's obviously got his tripod set up correctly. The horizon is very level. It's something far, far more advanced than what I used to be when I only had 5 subscribers, that's for sure. But we're looking obviously at this. It's an island in the distance.
Ranty, you're still like that with 2,900.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to highlight my expertise.
Come on, let's not hijack this, Anthony.
So he's obviously filming this island, and he's asking the question, you know, is it flat or is it round, you know? And he asked me in Jaren's chat last night to actually have a look at this video. So this morning I went and had a look at it, and I decided to see if I could pick out exactly what he was seeing. So I'm just going to stop it there, and I'm going to show you what I actually found because it's really great. This is the image. So obviously I've got it set up to Google Earth. You know, I've scrolled in, I've taken a snapshot of how it presents itself. All the mountain ranges match up perfectly. Obviously we go down here, drops off. We've even got that little notch here. This part of the mountain range here. So it's scaled correctly. So what it means is that when this tapers off, roughly around about here. We're looking that it's in a direct line behind Eagle Rock. So this is the direct line for Eagle Rock. So we've got a site in there. So we know that we're seeing further than Eagle Rock, which is behind this mountain range, but essentially about there. Now, I've done some calculations, and this works out to be about 140 feet in height, maybe slightly less. So this dotted line here, 140 feet. The problem is that if you watch his video back, he's clearly, let's start the video. I'm going to say he's no more than 10 feet above the water, probably a lot less. Probably a lot less. The distance is 28 miles. The distance is 28 miles.
Like a mill pond. It's very flat, that water.
It is. I mean, there is some ripples, but it's not very prominent at all. Although there is some swell in the location, and I'll get to that in a minute. But obviously, he's asking the question, is it flat or is it round? Well, let's have a look at the curve calc. So this mountain range that we're seeing here, you know, let's put it this way. If it's a globe earth proof, it's only a globe earth proof because it's all being loomed up beyond the curvature of the earth. Because there's a hell of a lot of mountain that we're seeing that we shouldn't be able to see at this distance. Just stop it there, and I'll show you what the curve calcs would say on this. So I've put a view height of 10 feet in, and we've gone for a distance of 28 miles. And basically, including refraction, Nathan, including refraction, 324 feet would be hidden to Earth curve, right? 324 feet. Now, if I go back to Google Earth and I bring up...
Sorry, just put the calculations back on screen, Ranty.
All right, sorry.
Didn't have them framed properly. You couldn't see them. Sorry.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So distance 28 miles, viewer height is 10 feet, and we have 324 of refracted hidden, right? Now, I've already showed you how I've scaled this, and I'm going to show you that now. So obviously, we've got his line of sight here. This is his line of sight, the red line. I'll show you where he was taking his observation from, which was from this port here, exactly here, right next to the side of this, some kind of harbour wall or something. And he's looking through here. It's 28 miles away, and let's get to the most important part. So there's Eagle Rock. So here we have a direct line of sight for Eagle Rock, which is here. Now we know from the image that I scaled, we're absolutely seeing into this, at least this location here. So the highest part on that is this line here, which I've scaled. I've gone across from left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right. And if I click this line here, hopefully, right one. Let's have a look. Put a new one in because obviously it doesn't seem to want to get this right now. So I'll just put these same lines of sight in across that hill there, and I'll save it. And then if we go to the elevation profile on that, we get some interesting results. So here we go. There's Eagle Rock. So here we've got the line of sight, and you can see it moving across up here. So there's Eagle Rock. We're seeing down to around about 55 meters, 50 meters in this location. This is essentially what we're seeing in a direct line of sight. This is where we're seeing there's Eagle Rock. If we go back to the image, there's Eagle Rock in the distance, which would be right here. And we're seeing a little bit of land further beyond that Eagle Rock. So that's about 50 meters or thereabouts. So it's absolutely slam dunk flat earth proof. Absolutely, because there's no way 324 feet should be hidden to refraction, including an earth curve, and it's not. We're seeing down to at least probably 140, 150 feet, and that's not even taking into account any kind of swell. So I went to the to this location. Obviously, this is swell reports for today. We don't know what it was like at the time, but in this location, you can just hover over different areas. You've got 1.7 meter of swell, 1.4 meters, 2.3, 2.7. So there is always swell that's going on, and they aren't detectable as much as waves would be. So any kind of chop that's on the water or wind-driven waves, you would see them, you would notice them. But these swells, because they're quite long, it just looks like a flat surface. So when you say it looked quite flat, like a mill pond, you've still got this little rolling that goes on called the swell. So even if you took this 1.4 meters and halved it, which would be 2 feet of extra swell, that's obviously in the way. So on his video, when you go back to the start of the video and you look here, you realize that he's looking over this swell that is actually there, even though you can't notice it. It's probably still a couple of feet of swell as well. So you can actually lower his elevation to perhaps just 8 feet above sea level.
I've got to admit, when as soon as I said it and he zoomed in, I thought that was a stupid thing to have said, because it obviously changes as he gets further into presumably deeper water, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. So the further out you go, obviously near the shoreline, it's relatively calm. It's quite protected. You've got walls all around it. If we go back at the start, can you see how it's all protected from the wind?
Ranty, where is he filming exactly from? This is my backyard here.
Okay, so it's Catalina Island from the Seaside Lagoon. So this is Seaside Lagoon.
Go back to the aerial map of the Seaside Lagoon.
Hold on, 10th man. I've got a couple of things to add as well. I just want to know that Ranty's actually made it to the end of his presentation before we all dive in.
Yeah, sure. Well, one thing, I'll just pop you over to this Seaside Lagoon, and I'll show you the line of sight. I'll just turn it around.
I got it now. Redondo Beach. I know where it's at.
There we go. So you know that he's looking through these two parts here, and he's got this kind of thing on the right hand side. So if I go to the image, there's the platform on the right. There's the two things that he's looking through, and over in the distance you've got the island.
I got it now. Go on. I'll follow up later.
So yes, it looks relatively calm in this area. It's all surrounded. It's protected from the wind. But when you start zooming in, you start going into more choppier waters. You've got a little bit of swell. I mean, I've said he's 10 feet above sea level. I don't even think
it even depicts it. It shows it. Zoom back out. It shows it in Google Earth.
The chop.
There you go. Yeah. There's your swells.
Yeah, it's very cool, Google Earth, because it does actually show you the drop-offs as well. And one other thing I want to show you is about this shoaling effect. So if we go across here, and I'm hovering my cursor over his line of sight here, we've got a depth of 18 meters. When we go a little bit further out, we go to this log just here. It's already at 319 meters in depth. It's a sheer drop-off. So from this point here, so over a distance from, well, 445 meters depth there, and let's just go to a mile. So 75 meters. 75 meters to 445 meters in drop over 1 mile. Now that's saying that it's a sheer drop off there. So you are going to get this shoaling effect as well. So there's all this stuff going on that will be vertically rising the height of the water in his line of sight.
Are you done, Nathan?
Well, I just got one question, but you go first. Feel free.
All right. Now I've been here so many times. I told you I went to Catalina Island on a weekly basis for 2.5 years to do fishing and lobster fishing when it was lobster season. Now, if you back out of this map, just back up, keep going. Okay, that peninsula that those two red lines point to down on your screen.
Yeah.
Well, let me see that land formation. That's Palos Verdes. No. Make a bit more aerial.
More aerial, right? Okay.
Yeah, I want to see the coastline. Okay, see that peninsula is Rancho Palos Verdes.
Yeah.
He's over here in Redondo Beach, which is, I grew up in Long Beach, Torrance, and then LA is next to that. And the airport is, they fly over the ocean here. All right, so now if you go left, my left on the screen.
Yeah.
Follow that coastline. Okay. Keep going. Okay, stop. So see where it says San Clemente?
Yeah.
Okay, to the right of that, you're going to find Dana Point Harbor, which is near there. Yeah, I think that's it. Dana Point. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so Dana Point Harbor, I have family who has a slip there in a boat. Okay, so we would go from here, before I got my boat, all the way to Catalina every year, several times. Now, I could go to Dana Point Harbor and then go to the right now, following the coastline, and go to Newport, which is Bay Island and Harbor Island right there, Newport Canyon.
Yeah.
Okay, zoom in on that. Okay, stop right there. I had my boat here. Okay, so I can go here. I can pick any part of this coastline. And I do have a P900. And I'm waiting for a day. where it's clear, everything. And now go to Catalina Island from here. It should be 24, 26 miles.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So,
Okay.
well, 28 miles, 29 miles.
Okay. You see Avalon? That's the tourist spot on the left. Okay. Go to the right where it says 2 harbors. To the right of the island, 2 harbors.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. This is where I would go. See where you got Eagle Rock?
Yeah.
I would take my boat and hug this shoreline and do my bait fishing. And then I would come back to 2 harbors, which we call the Isthmus, because there wasn't too many people there. All the stuff is in Avalon. So here I would either by anchor or by buoy, tie my boat, and then just fish all night for lobster or whatever. It was just wonderful. So I could take this shot from Dana Point or Newport Beach and send you footage, and you could do what you want with it.
That sounds great. But what do you think of the footage, though, that he's produced? Would you say I'm pretty accurate with showing how low down I've actually been able to triangulate his position to? From what you can see?
It's absolutely the same thing I'm going to show you from Dana Point and Newport Beach. It's the same thing. I mean, that island shows up on clear days just like the way I'm seeing it now, and it's always flat.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at all this lower stuff that we shouldn't see. And this is a problem for the globe because we don't have a lot of, obviously, chop right now that's that's actually causing physical obstruction. Obviously, we've got the swell, but we don't have chop. So on a calmish day, or the water's laying relatively calm, we do see a lot further. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, there's San Clemente Island, where the Navy shoots their bombs from Camp Pendleton. We can do shots of that from the San Onofre nuclear power plant that was shut down a few years ago. I could even go down to San Diego Harbor and take a shot from San Diego Harbor on a clear day and see how far I could see. But yeah, all of these things, if you give me a way of sending you high resolution footage via Wi-Fi where it doesn't get, where we could chunk it or zip file it up, I could do it for you one day.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to show this because obviously we got a lot of globers right now.
Before you summarise it again, I've been waiting patiently, and we've only got about 3 minutes left now on the live show. Okay, so can you go back to your elevation profile, please? I'm hoping John will follow along with this. See you there, Quantum Eraser?
Yeah, so the elevation profile, these over here. So here we go.
It doesn't matter what elevation profile. Any elevation profile, please, Ranty. Just pop one on screen. Doesn't matter what for.
All right. Okay. Let's click elevation profile. There we go.
Okay. So, can you see along the bottom edge, the very, very bottom edge of what you're drawing? So you've got the topology of the land sat on what? While Ranty's trying to follow along, I'll show for the audience what I'm showing, what I'm trying to get Ranty to describe with my mouse, so the audience know what I'm talking about. While I get Ranty to see at the bottom of the scale, the very bottom line. What is that bottom line?
What, down here?
Yeah, the way you're dragging your mouse along. Yeah, what's that line?
Zero.
The zero. But what is it? Describe what that is. It's inside a box. That should give you a clue.
Container.
What is the line? What would best describe the line along the bottom of this scale?
Level.
Base.
Level.
Levels, you devils.
Level. Flat. So what it's showing you is referencing flat.
I see.
So recently, John has been challenging the ballers in reference to Soundly, and what he does is he goes to one side of the bridge, shows that it's at 0 or 1 or 2 feet, goes to the other side, the other shore, shows that it's the same. What you've got is the reference for where we actually live. That is demonstrating a flat plane.
Cool. Well, Josh Bell is his name, guys, if you want to have a look, if you want to search for this guy. Catalina Island, clear as can be, flat all around. I'm sure he'd appreciate the subs. He's got a few different videos up, so might be worthwhile paying him a like. Actually, give him a like. There we go. and subscribing.
Cool. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 stream, then unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. If you need to keep yourself occupied afterwards, go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!